Hi everyone, it's Tracy here from Art Fibre Stitch. This is part 2 of this project where we're in fact creating a painting with fabric. We started off with the background fabric. I had a really nice sheer fabric that I wanted to put on top. I added in some roving and some different materials underneath the sheer. And then on top of the sheer, I also added some ripped silk. And at the end, we were looking at a few different other things that we could bring in. Look at those trap layers, some on top, some underneath. It really does give us depth. We've made a fabric sandwich, in fact. And although I'm loving that moody darkness of the night sky, where I've used that navy sheer, I'm bringing in some brighter colours. A little bit more texture, some clouds in the sky, things that I'm wanting to elevate this picture to the next level. And we'll start again now. You can see I've started already with a running stitch. I've just used a that yarn that I showed you last time that has several strands in it. I peeled one strand off and I stitched a running stitch. And I'm also looking to see where are these marks in this fabric that look like clouds, and sort of following that to help us visualize it better. I've put this frame around it just to have a look and see where it's going to be. Now I had this problem, if you'll remember, this was a printed fabric. That means it's printed after it's woven. And it's a little bit easy to snag a thread. And what it does is it pulls that print out of line. So we end up with the unprinted threads showing. And that's what those white stripes are. So I thought, well, I can either use it. I do like to do things like that. If I make a mistake, I like to think, well, how can I turn that into something? I tried some more lines here just to see what that looked like. You can pull the snag back up again, and then that will make it align again, the print, and you can get rid of those lines. So that's why I just went a little mad here, just seeing what it looked like. But I'm thinking I'll save that for another project. I'm probably just going to put some trees or something there. So let's save that till later and get on with it. I've pulled out this bobbly kind of navy, a little bit thicker yarn, and I'm thinking that would make a great horizon. I'm trying to keep it a nice straight line because that's what horizons are like. So I'm going to start stitching that down. I'm just going to stitch through it, and at the same time I'm going to stitch through that light blue behind. If you'll remember, that is actually the selvage from that navy sheer fabric, and it's got some white and some navy bits, and it just sort of looks like wild grasses or something, so I'm going to use it. And so I'll just stitch all the way through my big sandwich of fabrics and through that navy thread. Running stitch is the simplest of stitches. It is a single stitch that is done in a run. So it's a basic in and out, in and out. But so effective and so useful. I also added in my first little line of running stitch in that water, in that fine silk. And it created this ripple, and I thought, well, I like it. I like the ripples. It is water. So that's what I'm doing. I'm adding a little bit more texture there. And sometimes I'll do a running stitch all the way across. Sometimes I'll just do simple stitches. But I'll try and get some of these ripples in on purpose. It really does mold beautifully. Needle sculpting is really what we're doing. A bit of fabric manipulation. It's not flat. You know, every time you have a piece of work like this out on your desk, and you go past it, you look at it and you think of something else. And oh, okay. Yeah, I've decided I'm definitely going to put some bit of greenery in there. I had an experiment with, remember how these things were like rain? Well, you can try and pull them back or down and obscure it that way. I thought I might do a rain one day soon, but no, I'm just going to make that into trees, I think. So really all I'm doing for the rest of it will be, see these small long stitches, and here using a few different colors there. I might just pull out some of those clouds, and then I'm just going to do that. But the main thing is getting these down and having a bit of a stitch. Now, as I was showing you before, you can do little ripples by sewing it here. It's made a little ripple. If I put a line in between, it's done 2 ripples. So that's what I'm thinking. I do have other things. If I wish to couch, I could couch. That's quite pretty, isn't it? I could couch at the same time as I'm sewing down. And yeah, I like that. Let's do that. In fact, I like that piece. I like it with the purple across to the blue. Yeah. So that kind of thing. And the more you play, the more you find, the more you do. It's hard to stop. I'm wanting both light and dark down here. I want light bits that might pick up the tops of some of the ripples. You know how you can quite often get a moon and you'll just get a little spray of the light coming through. I'm going to do that, make it darker on the outside edges. I also have grey here. I picked out a few colours I might want to bring in. Sometimes you think, oh, that's a bit much, but if it's only 1 strand or 2 strands, it could be okay. So let's just try and do this with just plain stitch, plain running stitch. 2 strands. I'm going to push this up a bit. This. It's got a knot behind. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to create some ripples, I hope. And every now and again I'm going to make sure that I get that in. Couching down that pretty velour thread as I go. When I pass back I can get the other bits, so it's not that important. I want it to be relatively straightish, but it doesn't really matter. You see I'm pushing little ripples in? That cute. Now I've got everything sort of held down so I can pick it up. But you can see we've got the light of the moon is going to come this way, I think. And look at the colours. This is a silk, and it's been like a hand dyed one, and the ripples and the colours look pretty. Alright, so everything's held down. I've got to start. Let's finish her off. I am going to bring some of this pretty colour in, this jade kind of colour. Down here in the water. I'm going to start here and work my way across. Do some small ones and some larger ones. Sometimes I'm doing a full line of running stitches, although they may be different lengths to look more organic. But also sometimes I'm just going to do some long stitches here and there. You know, when I use a light color in the dark, that same light color, when I put it in the lighter sections, it'll look completely different, but it's really going to make it all fit together. Having a closer look here at where I've started, you can see those velour threads that I couched down, my little ripples, and the beginning of the stitching. I haven't used anything too dramatic yet. See, the blues mainly. But yeah, see how it is light and dark. We're managing to add quite a bit of colour to this, even though it started off as just a navy sheer. Under some lights it'll still look relatively navy, but in others you're going to get all of that lovely glowing colours. Now you may see I've started to put some colour up here as well. I've dragged out a light blue, I've grabbed a silver, I've grabbed, now where are you? Ah yes, this. I love this ribbon. It's shiny, it does this wonderful thing when I pull it apart, it sort of frays and sprays out and looks very frothy. I think that'd look nice. Couched down somewhere, a little bit of that. And this metallic silver, well, my idea for that is that I'm going to add a little bit into that water to reflect that moon shining down, that lovely full moon. So just some little bits in the center, you know, just those same single lines or single stitches here and there, maybe a few small lines of running stitch. And then I'll turn around and stitch back. Let's have a closer look though at how it looks. Can you see? You're probably not picking it up as well as it does look. In some lights it just really shines, but trust me, it looks really great. So now back to this. This is this ribbon. I wish I knew what it was. Very old. But yes, it just does this wonderful thing when I tease it apart. This lacy thing. So I think some of that would really colour up my sky. Just give it some oomph. So that can be couched down as well, just with that running stitch. You know, look good up there too. I might put a few bits down. I can manipulate this ribbon a little bit as I go. You know, teasing more bits out. Sometimes I'll just pull it back in again, or you know, and what I don't catch, like I say, going past one way, I can come back and do again. Let's just get it down for a start and see. I'm going to put a nice wavy stripe of it all the way across, I think. Alright, well this is what I'm up to. On this side, I've decided to do some fly stitch in black to hold that down, that green. And that'll sort of make it look a little bit more like skeleton kind of trees. I've added some of that blue in. There's probably a little bit more stitching I can do up there, or I might just stop, I don't know. But it looks nice in its frame. So I'm just going to finish those black trees. So this will be one of the final finishing touches, I think. It'll really set it off. I'm going to use a different stitch though, not just plain straight stitch or running stitch like we have. It's not that complicated. It's a fly stitch, and I'll show you how. So the needle comes up from underneath, and then to the right I'm going back down again, but in the meantime I'm holding the thread out the way, and then underneath the needle comes up again, and I let that thread go so it forms a V, and then I anchor it by putting the needle down again into the fabric. So what happens is there's loads of variation. I can do wide, or I can do one of the V's would be higher than the other. I'm hoping we'll get a better view of it here soon, but I have done a video on just this if you want. They'd make great trees and all kinds of things. So there we go, needle up, needle back in, needle coming up underneath, letting go so it creates that V, and then down again, and then we're ready to do another. So hopefully we'll get a few going here and you'll get the hang of it. Every time I come back down with that anchoring stitch, I'm doing a long straight stitch with it, not just anchoring it just under the V. I'm going down a bit, and that is creating the trunk of my tree. So here we go again. Let's hope we can see it better. Letting go, forming a V, and down again. There. So a small grouping of these as a silhouette against my moon, I think will really set that off, and it's holding down the rest of that green mesh kind of lace stuff that I have. This project has taught me a lot. I'm still experimenting with this layering, but I love it. The subtle use of color, it really is like painting. So have an experiment with it. Sheer fabrics underneath, or wool or yarn or scraps, or all kinds of things can be trapped underneath a sheer fabric or a net, and have a backing fabric, and like I say, a fabric sandwich. But all good things come to an end. I'm just showing you here how that still needs a little bit more holding down, so I'll do another line across of stitching and just finish off a few bits and pieces. But we'll finish off with some photos, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed doing it. If you have, don't forget to press like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I think we'll do something completely different next time. Thanks for watching.